Ladies and gentlemen, we have a bit of a different video for you today. I understand that I am currently a Gacha content creator, and we talk about all things Gacha. But the current fiasco that's going on with Unity, which is one of two of the biggest gaming software engines out there, them being number two, number one being Unreal Engine. We're all familiar with them. This is a situation that affects the entire gaming industry. Right? Not only the developer, but also the publisher and the consumer. Because if the developer is taking an L and we are playing the developer's games, trust me when I tell you the developer is not going to take that bullet on their own. All right. They're going to have to make changes, price adjustments to ensure that they are able to take the hit. And that implies we're going to take that hit as well as the publisher. So yeah, it affects everyone in short. So there's a lot to discuss with this matter. We need to provide full context as to what Unity did. There's been a big update today. They've already changed their pricing after they've been ripped to shreds by the entire gaming industry, unanimously uniting together to do so. But I want to talk about all of this so that you guys have the same level of understanding that I have, so that there is little to no confusion. Now, I've spent the better part of the past 36 hours trying to inform myself on this situation as best as I can, because I'm not a fan of speaking on things I have little to no information on. And I have learned a great deal of information with regards to how Unity's monetization plan works in comparison to their competitor, Unreal Engine, and other competitors. But Unreal Engine had a monetization plan that I was able to measure against Unity's to see, to try to understand, well, okay, how are they coming up with these prices? And then it ended up making much more sense to me. The other thing I want to take into consideration here is the drastic changes they have been doing and the reasoning as to why they've been doing it. A lot of people have been coming up with all kinds of hypotheses and drawing conclusions based off of what they've done. This article that's recently been published by Bloomberg has shed some light as to what they might have been up to. But I'm able to extrapolate from the business plan that they've designed and give you guys a pretty good coherent answer as to what they have been up to. And that's what we want to get into today. But first, you must understand what was the pricing before, then the pricing changed, and now what it is, today. So there's two very important things I want to establish off the rip. One, Unreal Engine has a monetization plan where you can completely use their software for free $99 to develop your game, their gaming engine. And once you start making $1 million, you have to pay them a 5% fee based off the income you've accrued going forward indefinitely. So no matter how much money you make after you make $1 million, you have to pay them 5% of that. So if you make $2 billion, such as Hoyoverse, and you're doing business with Unreal Engine, you're going to have to pay them $100 million because that is 5% of $2 billion. Now, some may view this as, oh, that is an expensive and steep fee. Well, it's supposed to be expensive for the developers that are making a ridiculous amount of money. Of course, they need to pay something. This is not a charity. However, if you're thinking it's expensive for the smaller developer, I would disagree. And my reasoning for this is because until they make $1 million, they are free to use this software without any charge whatsoever. So essentially, the way this monetization plan operates is it's operating as an investor. We are going to invest in you. Do not worry about paying a single penny ever. Even if your project never succeeds and it completely fails, you won't have to pay a single dime. However, should you start to succeed and you make more than $1 million, it is time for us to make a return on our investment. You have been using our software for completely free for X amount of years. Therefore, it is only fair for us to start making a return on our investment. I think that is completely fair. And for the person who doesn't think it's fair, well, you can take your business elsewhere. That's the beauty of business. You have a different outlet that you can go to. There's a different competitor that you can go to and get a better price that you think is fair to you. So that is Unreal Engine's monetization plan, completely free up until $1 million, and you start paying 5%. So ultimately, very friendly barrier to entry for the smaller developer, but for bigger developers, they're paying 5% out the gate. And yeah, I think that's fair given the money they already make. Now for Unity, there's three different things we got to go through. Unity, initially, the way they did their monetization plan was it was a subscription-based monetization plan. The developers would go to them and they would pay a subscription out of one of three tiers. They had the personal and plus package. Personal was free. The plus package was $400 a year, which a majority of indie game developers would do this package. $400 a year. And then you would go and use their gaming engine to create your project. And that was that, right? Then they had the Pro and Enterprise packages, which upgraded the resources available to the developer to utilize to create their game. They had better tools, better resources to basically increase the experience of developing their game. This was the way that Unity was running their business. Now, it's also important to establish that these developers would then have to go to a different distributor who had a cloud induced software that enabled them to broadcast their game digitally to the globe, such as Steam, such as Epic Games. You have to then go to these guys after your game is created, pay them a fee in order for your game to be played by us, the consumers. So there's a lot that goes into this, as well as the cost for creating the game. How many developers are on the team? You're splitting that income across those developers. How many variables are considered in making the game, as well as voice acting, sound effects, all these different jobs that apply when it goes to creating a game. So keep all that in mind as we're going on to this. So let's speed up till today. In this recent week, Unity announced their new monetization plan. They essentially said that now we're going to keep the subscription fee that we're still charging you. And in addition to that, we're now going to start charging you an installation fee for every installation your game has up to date, which would imply that they were going to charge these developers retroactively for total lifetime downloads, a particular percentage, and then still charge them the software subscription that they had already been doing. Now, I know that some of you guys are going to say they're not doing it retroactively anymore. I get it, but we got to go through the whole story so that the context makes so much more sense. So again, initially, people thought, what the whoa, right? As a developer has been working with Unity for years, you just got completely blindsided by this company. So it's safe to say, public didn't take that very well. People started immediately ripping these guys to shreds. They're pissed off, and they should be. They've broken their trust. They've completely pulled this number out of their ass. Y'all know the details if you've been keeping up with this. But what was the percentage that they were trying to charge these guys? Well, if we take a look at their monetization plan, they were trying to charge people, and it's broken up into brackets depending on the number of installations, the money you're making. They've made it to where they're trying to charge a different number based off the success and the size of the developer that is coming to them. So when I assessed this business plan, what I saw was there are some thresholds in order for you to even be charged, and you have to meet both criteria. One of the thresholds for the Unity Personal and Unity Plus, which, by the way, they're combining that was their plan. They are in the process of changing things. This is an ongoing change that's occurring as we speak in real time. As of now, as we understand it, the Unity Personal and Unity Plus package, the requirement was if you made $200,000 and you had 200,000 installations, and you have to meet both. What I mean by this is if you have 2 million installations, but you only made $150,000, you're not going to be charged. You're only going to be charged once you start making 200 grand, which is actually relatively easy for a gaming developer to achieve, by the way, mind you. Once you meet both of these thresholds, you're now going to be charged 20 cents per installation. And again, initially, this was also going to be considered retroactively. So if you had 20 million downloads on the lifetime of your video game and you used their software, they were going to charge those 20 million downloads 20 cents per installation. But this was obviously a tactic, when I look at this, to get you to buy their more expensive packages, which had much friendlier rates. So if you did not buy their Unity Pro or Unity Enterprise after this goes into effect, and they did do it retroactively, you would be paying 20 million installations times 20 cents, which means you pay 20% of $20 million. That is an incredibly fat price tag. Off of $20 million, 20% is $4 million. And let's say you only made $230,000 off of that game, despite it having 20 million downloads. Well, you're now in the hole, right? However, it's clear as day that what you would need to do is you would have to switch over to the Unity Pro or Unity Enterprise packages. Mind you, it's $2,000 for the Unity Pro and it's $3,000 for the Unity Enterprise. And now there's a new threshold you would have to achieve in order to be charged at all. And that new threshold is going to be $1 million in USD revenue and 1 million installations. So now that you've bought this package, if you have that same scenario where you have 20 million downloads, but you've only made $230,000, you're not getting charged anything other than the yearly package, which is $2,000 for Unity Pro and $3,000 for Unity Enterprise. However, once you reach those thresholds, once you start making $1 million and you have 1 million installations, now you're going to get taxed based off of these brackets, and these brackets have different prices for the amount of installations you have. So for the first 100,000 installations, you're going to get charged 15 cents for the Pro and 12.5 cents for the Enterprise package. For the next 400,000 views, it's going to be 7.5 cents per installation on the Pro and then 6 cents for the Enterprise. Then for the next 500,000 installations, it's now going to be 3 cents for the Pro and 2 cents for the Enterprise. And finally, the million installation mark. Every installation your game gets after the million installation mark is going to be charged 2 cents if you have the Pro package and 1 cent if you have the Enterprise package. So as you can see here, they are clear as day trying to get anyone who is in the personal and plus package department to buy their Pro or Enterprise packages. And this is going to increase their profits drastically because this is a $400 package and the Pro and the Enterprise is a $2,000 and $3,000 package. So all of the small developers would have to upgrade to these packages to prevent themselves from getting scuffed by this 20 cent per installation fee, which would increase the profit drastically of Unity. Now, this all is going to tie into an answer they gave Bloomberg today or last night, and it's going to show you that they're full of shit. But this is all to say, it's clear what the agenda was here. It was just it was a money grab. They were penny pinching. They're trying to increase their profits through the moon by all means necessary. But I did want to mention the last thing. There is also an entirely different rate you would pay based off installations that come from third world countries. And what they named this was emerging market rate. The emerging market rate is going to refer to places that are downloading these games from third world countries. It is a very, very cheap rate in comparison to what they had for everything else, which is down here at the bottom. And if you have the Enterprise package, it is literally 0.5 cent per installation. So that is also something to consider. If you were to do this Enterprise package, then you would be paying obviously the cheapest rate on your installations. But the fact of the matter is, going back to everything, first of all, there's pirating that's going to occur and malicious intent from people who just have a, the emotional absolute morons that live in our gaming industry today who just want to do stupid shit to developers and install over and over and over again. But this is where it gets to an interesting part, because Unity gave you the source trust, bro, where they essentially said, we are going to use our proprietary software to track all the real and the legitimate and non-legitimate installations. Nobody can trust this. Nobody believes they can actually quantify this. So of course, people are even more angry at them for even thinking people would believe them after pulling a stunt like this. And now, with all of this context provided, this is supposed to take effect on January of 2024. And it's not going to be applied retroactively, but it's going to be applied to all installations on games that use their software going forward. Now, see, initially I was able to understand the mind frame behind charging games for using your software. But the reason I was able to understand it is because I thought the gaming engine was much like a vehicle engine, where you had to use this gaming engine in order for your game to even work on a digital platform. But then I came to learn, after doing a bit of a research, the gaming engine is used like a vehicle engine to create the video game. But then after the video game is created, much like Adobe, when you make a video using Premiere Pro, you don't need Premiere Pro to make that video work once it's created. So I make my video through Premiere Pro, I export it, and now I can put it on whatever platform I want, and I don't need Adobe Premiere Pro's resources to keep that video operating. So a gaming engine works the exact same way as this. It does not need to be used after it's been used to create the video game. So there doesn't make any sense at all to try and gain a profit from a developer that used your software that is no longer being utilized. They paid you for the subscription. They've done the business with you. It's been conducted. You cannot double charge them for some bullshit. But again, I thought they could at first, because I thought the gaming engine still had to be used. In other words, you're still using their source to make your game work. Nope, that is not the case. They are only using it to create the game. Then they're going to a distributor such as Steam or Epic Games to continue to make this game run digitally and broadcast it worldwide, which makes sense why Epic Games and Steam and all the other games, platforms that they go to make their game work or play digitally, why they have to pay a fee to those guys, because they're using their source as an ongoing process, if that makes sense. Now, the last thing I want to establish here, because I didn't say it earlier, is that the subscription fee, because this is important as well, the subscription fee that you're paying them for the Pro and Enterprise packages is per seat of your project team. So per seat means you're going to have to pay this $2 to $3 grand per developer on your team. So if you have 6 developers on your team, you're going to pay $2 grand for the Pro package, $3 grand for the Enterprise package, times the 6 developers. So 18 grand in total. And if you're a small developing company, 18 grand is a very sizable fee on top of the installations. So now you can see the scumbag approach that these guys have been taking to try and penny pinch all kinds of developers. Now wait till we get to this article that explains their reasoning for doing all of this, because then it's going to make so much sense as to why I'm calling them scumbags for this. So this article was published by Bloomberg, which Bloomberg, mind you, is a very credible source that is utilized by millions of people across the globe to go to for financial news, for stock news. This is essentially a source where you don't really want to lie to them. Now, of course, people can. And it seems like they didn't necessarily lie to them, but they kind of, deceived. They kind of deceived them. Let's see what they said. They said, under the new plan, it seems like Unity will still charge per installation. So they're staying with their per installation tactic. But it will cap the charge at 4% for games making over $1 million. So they're no longer... They've already changed drastically just off of this. Now, of course, again, this is an ongoing change, so we'll see what really happens once they put out their official statement. They've told Bloomberg, we're now changing it to a 4% charge per installation for games that make over 1 million, whereas initially they were charging 20 cents for games that were making over 200,000 just to force people to get their other enterprise packages. So now they're changing it to 4% for games making over 1 million. And that is that's 16 cent difference per installation, guys. That's huge. For now, we do not know if there's a cap on fees for games making under that amount. I'm sure there will be. It also seems like Unity will only assess installs made after January 1st instead of retroactively applying the fees to games already released that have met the install threshold. I've already discussed that with you guys. We've already talked that, but this is where it gets a little interesting. Additionally, Bloomberg's report included that instead of Unity using what is called a proprietary software to track a game's installs, it will rely on users to self-report. So they're now no longer going to use their reliable source to track the legitimate and non-legitimate installs. They're going to rely on the people. And that is the best way to go about it. Rely on the people, because they are not going to trust your ass. However, many out there will say their trust has been completely shattered and broken and irreparable. So there's that to take into consideration as well. There are a lot of people out there saying there's no way to walk back on this. Also in the report, Unity continued to inform, this is important, that these changes were only meant to capture revenue from Unity's highest earning games. Oh boy. The extremely popular mobile games Genshin Impact and Pokemon Go were developed in Unity, and it was widely stipulated that these games were likely the company's true targets. This is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Let's finish the rest of this. The Verge reached out to both developers, MiHoYo and Niantic, for comment. MiHoYo did not respond. Niantic declined to comment. So shit is getting very sticky, guys. Ooh, things are getting very sticky. Now I want to talk about all of this because this answered a number of things for me. One, they're full of shit saying that their true target was the big mobile games such as Genshin Impact and Pokemon Go. However, they're not necessarily lying either. They are trying to get a piece of that pie, which I will explain to you guys because it makes a lot of sense. The reason I say they're full of shit is because of what I showed you earlier. If that was their true target, then why are they trying to penny pinch smaller developers with the 20-cent bullshit, trying to upgrade their $400 plus package to the $2,000 and $3 plus packages? That's a $1,600 to $2,600 increase for all small developers. So you're full of shit saying that's your true target. Your true target was just to try to get as much money as freaking possible. That's the truth of the matter. But they're not wrong in saying they were trying to pursue a bag from Genshin Impact and Pokemon Go and a plethora of other mobile gaming companies that are crushing it right now. Because here's the facts, guys. No other sector in the gaming industry is doing a better job at getting consistent new downloads and more revenue month by month basis than the mobile market. The mobile market is constantly getting new downloads, new money. And Unity is sitting here watching this, like salivating from the mouth like goddamn big bad wolf about to blow the house down. And they're like, how can we get a piece of that? How can we formulate some type of annuity strategy where we're constantly receiving some piece of the pie that the money these guys are making? Hoyoverse is making a ridiculous amount of money, right? The funny thing is, guys, Hoyoverse has a share. Hoyoverse is a shareholder of Unity, but this is where I want to make sure people understand this. I'm getting all juiced up on this. Hoyoverse is a shareholder of Unity, but there are different sectors of Unity. There's Unity in China, and then there's Unity in America, and this is where I've come to establish where the Unity in America is definitely trying to shaft the Unity in China because they're trying to get the money that Chinese mobile games are making and put it in their pockets. So there's a lot to unravel from this. My brain is like on overload. But what I do know is that Unity 100% is trying to increase their revenue by in creating a consistent revenue grab from whatever money mobile games are making that utilize their software, which is horseshit. It really is. It's absolute dog shit. Because if you guys want to make more money, there's a simple method to go about this based off of, rather than charging people on an installation fee, you just need to increase your subscription fee. Nobody told your goofy asses to put that very cheap subscription fee for companies like Hoyoverse who are making billions of dollars. You see, the way Unreal Engine went about it was very genius. As I said to you guys before, if Hoyoverse goes and does business with Unreal Engine, they have to pay 5% of their increase of their earnings. So they make $2 billion, they got to pay $100 million. But if they go to a company like Unity, they only have to pay off of the subscription fee, which is $3,000 per seat in the house. Let's say Hoyoverse, who knows? Let's say Hoyoverse has 100 seats in the house, aka 100 developers. Let's say they have 1,000 developers. I don't know. But if they have 100 developers and each developer has to pay $3,000, that's only 300 grand. That's not a goddamn thing to a powerhouse company such as Hoyoverse. But it is something to a smaller developer who has to pay that, right? But then you compare it to Unreal Engine, they have to pay $100 million. You see where we're going here? So Unity's trying to capitalize off of the mobile market the way Unreal Engine is doing it, but in a different tactic. They're trying to do it off of installations. And to be fair, it's kind of genius. But the way they try to implement this entire plan is just preposterous. So now here we are today. What is going to happen? I look forward to this. I am so thrilled to see what they're going to put out officially, just so I can cover it and give my own thoughts as to what's going on. I hope I brought you guys some good, informative entertainment and insight into this madness as to what's going on. Please comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter. As always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the flip side.